This is GARIS Masculist MGTOW flyers, that is 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 226, entitled Promoting Female Masculism. Description. This flyer lays out the reasons why masculists should promote female masculism and gives some concrete tips on how this can be done. Flyer itself. Promoting Female Masculism by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Why is it in the self-interest of masculists to promote masculism amongst women? There are lots of reasons that this flyer spells out. I'll give a bulleted list of the main ones and elaborate later. 1. Female masculism will soften feminazi bitchery, making women nicer to men. 2. Women will become more sympathetic towards masculist ideas. 3. Female masculists will vote with men to men-fair the gender laws. 4. The realistic prospect of having a voting majority to men-fair the gender laws will galvanize the apolitical MGTOW movement to become politically active, angry masculists. 5. Women will be seen as a stepping stone towards the men-fairing of the gender laws. 6. Men will be prepared to be fathers again, so populations are not wiped out by the MGTOW/masculist paternity boycott. 7. The gender laws are men-faired, men's lives are liberated. 1. Female masculism will soften feminazi bitchery, making women nicer towards men. Most women have the impression that women have a monopoly on gender issues. They've been taught by the feminazis that men are pigs to be disliked, so many women treat men badly. By teaching women masculist ideas, that men have gender issues too, that women abuse men too, then women will become more balanced about cross-sexual oppression and become more sympathetic towards men, and hence be nicer to be with, instead of being feminazi bitches that repel men, so that feminazis are left rotting on the shelf. 2. Women will become more sympathetic towards masculist ideas. Some women are not amoral towards men and the financial exploitation of men. They are capable of putting themselves in men's shoes so that once they're exposed to masculist ideas, they can learn to be sympathetic towards men's gender plight, especially towards man slavery and men's crucifixion in the divorce courts. 3. Female masculists will vote with men to men-fair the gender laws. Once many women become sympathetic towards men's gender issues, they will become female masculists and vote for the men-fairing of the gender laws. Masculists will teach them that since 51% of the voters are female and that a higher proportion of women vote than men, then the gender laws are not going to be men-faired until female masculists ally with the male bloc vote to force the gender politicians to men-fair the gender laws. Traditional women, when push comes to shove, especially in a divorce, will want to keep their privileges by using the profoundly misandrous divorce laws to financially massacre their ex-husbands instead of being forced to become FIPs, that's financially independent persons, and grow up, standing independently on their own 2 feet and take responsibility for their own lives. So these fluffy women will have to be fought by the bloc male vote, which unfortunately won't be big enough. But combined with the female masculist vote, that is the bloc male vote plus the bloc female masculist vote, it will be big enough, so that the two combined can then force the gender politicians to reverse direction. 4. The realistic prospect of having a voting majority to men-fair the gender laws will galvanize the passive, apolitical, wimpy MGTOW movement to become politically active, angry masculists. Most MGTOWs, men going their own way, really buy into the 51% female voter argument and therefore reason that any form of masculist political action would be a waste of time and energy because the gender politicians are not going to budge while the majority of the voters are for the current misandrous gender laws, particularly regarding divorce. But by persuading women to become female masculists, see below on how to do this, that 51% statistic can be lowered to, say, 40%, implying that 60% of voters want the gender laws to be men-fared, otherwise the gender politicians get voted out. A lot of MGTOWs would love to be more politically active, helping men to overcome their collective oppression at the hands of fluffy parasitic women, but are held back by the force of the 51% argument. Once they see the writing on the wall that large numbers of women are becoming female masculists who will vote with the male bloc vote, then that will galvanise them to become angry masculists who will then become politically active by, for example, setting up men's lib groups at high schools and colleges, setting up men's studies courses at universities, contacting the broadcast media to preach masculism and MGTOW ideas, haranguing the hated fluffy feminists and feminazis, putting heavy moral pressure on fluffies to become fips or be ignored and spat at by men, etc. 5. Women will be seen as a stepping stone towards the men-fairing of the gender laws. Masculists really want the gender laws, for example divorce laws, bringing in the paternity rejection right, etc., to be men-faired, so that men can live better lives. Getting more women to become female masculists will increase the odds of the gender politicians men-fairing the gender laws, because these female masculists will vote with the male bloc vote and force the gender politicians to reverse direction, away from their current heavy bias towards women and their misandrous gender laws, for example in the divorce courts. 6. Men will be prepared to be fathers again, so populations are not wiped out by the MGTOW/masculist paternity boycott. The current rejection of paternity by the MGTOW and masculists cannot continue indefinitely. If it does, then whole populations get wiped out, so it has to stop at some stage. With large numbers of women becoming female masculists and voting for the men-fairing of the gender laws, many men will be prepared to be fathers again, because many men today would like to be fathers, but don't dare to because fathers in today's deeply misandrous legal environment, one married father in 4 is financially crucified and has his life ruined. With the gender laws men-faired, men will feel safer and become fathers again, thus preventing populations from being annihilated. 7. The gender laws are men-faired, men's lives are liberated. The ultimate aim of the masculists is to so change society that masculism is no longer needed. It can pass into the history books like Negro slavery. One of the major goals of the masculists to achieve that ultimate goal is to see the gender laws men-faired, so that men can live much happier lives, so that populations are not wiped out by men boycotting paternity and marriage. The above list gave some reasons why men should promote female masculism. This next section talks about ideas on how to actually do this, that is, practical suggestions on what actions masculists can do to promote female masculism. 1. Put up links to essays like this one on women's websites and YouTube channels. I'm starting to do this already. There are a growing number of female masculist channels on YouTube, so I put up links to my masculist essays, and particularly to my female masculist essays, on these sites in the comments section for them to read and hopefully be influenced by. If many masculists and MGTOWs do this, then some of these female masculists cannot fail to be influenced. 2. Write essays specifically aimed at women to persuade them to become female masculists. I and other masculists and MGTOWs ought to write essays aimed specifically at potential female masculists to persuade women to become female masculists for the reasons mentioned above, and put them on female YouTube sites. 3. Use a carrot and stick approach to motivate women to be female masculists. There are 2 broad approaches to persuade women to become female masculists. The most effective is probably using the stick, that is fear, by scaring women that if the gender laws are not made men fair by having women vote for that to happen, then men will continue to be MGTOWs, rejecting marriage and paternity, so that, in quotes, women will not have babies. Women want babies above all else, so the threat that they will not have them is powerful, a source of real fear for them. So MGTOWs and masculists should push women to become female masculists. In the form of a masculist slogan that could be used towards women, quote, "Vote together with men to mend fair the gender laws, or remain babyless," end quote. The other approach is the carrot. That is, there will be benefits for women if they cause the gender laws to be men-faired. That is, they will be more likely to have babies because men will feel safer to be fathers once the gender laws are men-faired. They will no longer have to face the risk of about 1 chance in 4 of being financially massacred and having their lives destroyed by a hated, fluffy feminist, feminazi bitch-dominated divorce court system. 4. Masculists should get on the broadcast media to motivate/scare women to become female masculists. Most women know nothing about masculism nor MGTOW, so a lot of work needs to be done to get on the broadcast media to spread masculist/MGTOW ideas so that women can be educated that if they don't help men fair the gender laws, they will remain babyless, and men will continue to ignore women. If women want to have a man and a baby, then women have to become female masculists and help men achieve gender equality by having the gender laws and social attitudes made men fair. 5. Set up men's studies courses at universities and invite female students to take them. At the moment, in most people's eyes, gender studies is actually women's studies, as though men have no gender issues. This deplorable state of affairs desperately needs to change, so professors who are masculists and MGTOWs need to set up men's studies courses at universities and write books about the topic. Young women should be eligible to take these classes too, so that more women become conscious of men's issues and become more sympathetic to them. 6. Masculists should talk about masculism to their female acquaintances and female friends to raise female awareness of men's gender issues. Most men have dozens of female colleagues and friends to whom they can talk about men's issues, so that women become informed about them in large numbers. Use the grapevine. For example, men can tell women about MGTOW and masculism, so that women can look them up on the internet and teach themselves. There's a long way to go. I only have to look at the percentage of women who watch my YouTube videos to see how far behind women are to men. Women are only 2% of my viewers. 7. Masculists should write op-eds for newspapers and magazine articles and masculist articles for magazines and appear on TV, spreading masculist ideas and scaring women to become female masculists or be babyless. Talented masculists and MGTOWs, especially professors and PhDs, should write op-eds for magazines and newspaper articles on MGTOW and masculist ideas to reach the millions, the masses, spreading an awareness of men's issues. The most effective way to motivate women to help men have the gender laws men-faired is to scare them with the idea that they will not have babies due to the rejection of paternity by the MGTOW. Already 70% of young men under 35 in a string of major countries today, and will probably exceed 90% within a decade. Which in turn is a reaction to the hated, fluffy, feminist-dominated divorce courts, taken over by the feminazis, who use these courts to butcher men by financially massacring them, ruining their lives. Guys, I don't hear anything on YouTube about the promotion of female masculism, which is a pity because it's a vital element to eventual masculist success in men-fairing the gender laws and society. It's a strategy that needs to be pursued a lot more vigorously. So how about it? Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. YouTube channels De Garis, Masculist, MGTOW, Flyers, and De Garis Essays.